From my first book, No Path to Enlightenment, the I before I am. The one you are looking for is the one who is looking. St. Francis of Assisi. Salvation is to see things as they already are. Nisargadatta Maharaj. In a sense, these words are coming from the I before I am. What do I mean by this? Well, they're coming from a deeper awareness, one that does not easily translate into the world of day-to-day thinking. They're coming from the ground of our being, a stillness underlying everything. However, within the world of the illusionary self, they have little authority or validity because that world deals in knowing, and this comes from unknowing. This unknowing stillness has many names. The Buddha called it the empty mind. Jesus called it the kingdom of heaven. Eckhart Tolle calls it the light of consciousness or presence. Hindus call it the higher self or Brahman. Rumi wrote, I know not myself. And the ancient Chinese called it the Tao or the way. The Tao Te Ching begins with the Tao that can be named is not the true Tao. It is for this reason the truth of our being can only be pointed to using analogy, poetry, and parables. From this stillness, I will describe the world of apparent forms, things and events that we are familiar with, the world of I am. If I asked, who are you? You might say, I am, and give your name, your age, your relationship to others, your profession, and perhaps your likes and dislikes. All these descriptions are the I am. They are who you believe you are, not what you are. In truth, you are the impersonal I before naming. The I am is the illusionary self, the conditioned mind, who you believe you are. Virtually all your suffering is born from misidentification with this illusionary self. Who you are suffers. What you are does not. Therefore, when the illusion is revealed, who you believe you are disappears along with its suffering. I will point to your true nature, to the core of your being, the I before I am. There will be no building of ideas and concepts culminating throughout the book. Instead, I will try to reveal this ground of being with every word I write. Because it is difficult to see the illusion of the self when you are in it, I will give analogies and poems to point to it, some of which are from ancient texts and others are my own. First, let us see if we can close in on the I before I am by questioning yourself. So what exactly is the innermost essence, that is the unchanging part of you? What appears to give you continuity over time? What is the constant? It cannot be your thoughts because they continually change, appearing and disappearing like the wind. It cannot be your memory, as that fades and distorts. It cannot be your concepts or the people you know, because again, these are in constant flux. Your loved ones may give you a strong sense of identity, but that reassurance is from their perspective and comes from outside. It cannot be your emotions because they come and go too and are ever changing, as are your preferences, nor can it be your body because that is temporary and all its cells are replaced as it ages. All these things are fleeting forms and as such they are finite and temporary. However, there is something, although not a thing, that holds all these changing forms, a stillness within. This stillness at your core is the impersonal awareness that comes before I am. It is the source of all things. It is not your thoughts or the story they create. For the enlightened, it is what awakes from the dream of you. But whether enlightened or unenlightened, you are it, and it is you. All our suffering comes from the belief that the self is real, when in fact the self is both real and unreal, and therefore our suffering is both real and unreal. To clarify, by self, I am referring to our personal identity. Myself, my mind, my persona, my character, my consciousness, my name, my story, my thoughts, me. The self is real in the sense that within the illusion of the conditioned mind, everything in our lives seems very real and very important, as does our suffering. It is unreal when it is realized that we falsely identify as a self with a personal story. To see through the illusion of the self and its story, and to see the world as it is, rather than as we would like it to be, is enlightenment. Life is then no longer a projection of our illusionary self with its story of how things should be. Instead, it is accepted as it is, without conflict and therefore without suffering. Life becomes so simple without carrying the burden of a personal story. However, there is no path leading to this emancipation because taking paths in an attempt to reach goals simply adds to the personal story and strengthens the illusionary self. No one can lead you to this way of perceiving. I can lay the groundwork by focusing on the illusion of the self, but glimpses of your true nature are down to grace. When you are ready, they will appear. There is no path to enlightenment. We know when we are happy and content and at peace, and we know when we are unhappy, sad and depressed. At times of happiness, peace and contentment, we are free from stress, but it is difficult to hold on to these feelings of well-being because, sooner or later, usually sooner, negative thoughts arise and the peace is shattered. Therefore, our happiness is always temporary because it is based upon thoughts that can change in an instant. Nevertheless, in those brief moments of quiet peacefulness, we get a flavour of what life could be like, and we want more of the same. We try all our lives to find peace and happiness, but it is a continual effort trying to balance all the areas of our life so that we can feel happy rather than worried and concerned. Just as one area of our life falls into place, another problem arises. We are like jugglers spinning plates. All our concentration and energies are focused on keeping them in the air. Only our only respite is in the brief time when they are all balanced and in motion. But even then it is stressful as we fret about which plate will topple next. Happiness, peace and contentment we experience when our thoughts are stress-free is fleeting and is not freedom from suffering. It is a superficial and temporary relief from our deeper worries and concerns, in the same way that those who turn to alcohol and other drugs find only temporary respite. When the effects wear off, they are faced with the same problems. Whereas when we see through the illusionary self, we can face life as it happens in the moment. There is no need to escape. We simply notice thoughts and feelings arising rather than becoming them. This should not be confused with a forced detachment from life, whereby we make a conscious decision to deny our feelings in order to self-protect. This subtle change will dramatically affect our lives because we will perceive from a clear, unfiltered perspective. From this new open space, we feel connected to everyone and everything around us because we are living in openness and honesty rather than from a constricted and defensive self-centeredness. This new perspective reveals how the habits of building and maintaining defenses and interacting from a fixed idea of I am creates the false self and its suffering. This self is sustained and validated by our story, which is constantly referenced as we go about our daily lives. We attack anything that threatens our ideas and understandings of who we are. We would rather keep our misery than lose ourselves. Most of us live our lives believing our stories, but when it is realized that the self is an illusion, those stories collapse, and a clarity and stillness set us free from the bonds of our past and the fear of our future. Afterwards, we reside in the only reality that exists, the present moment, the I before I am. We no longer struggle to fit the reality of what happens into what we think should happen, because there is no story telling us how things should be. We still apparently act in the world, but action flows through us from a deeper beingness. We apparently plan and make decisions, but not out of fear or worry, because our constant mind chatter has been silenced. We find ourselves in the world, but not of the world. We are no longer in conflict with what is. We are in tune with what is. In fact, more accurately, it is recognized that the self we thought we were never existed, and what remains is what was always there. The stillness beneath cannot be harmed. The recognition that the self is illusionary ends our suffering.